Hey guys, so today's video comes from a subscriber request. Sandra requested that I do a video using products that I forgot I had, which I feel like is a constant struggle. There's always some products in my collection that just kind of fly under my radar. I forget that I own them for a while. I sort of get into a rut using the same products over and over again. I feel like I've always got kind of a general routine that I stick to. And I do switch up what I use day to day, but there's some products that somehow just kind of go unused for a while. So I dug through my collection and picked out a bunch of products that I felt like I hadn't used in a while, and we're gonna do a full face of these products. So let's get into it. So the foundation that I want to use is one that I was raving about a lot last year, and then I kind of just stopped using it. And I don't really know why, but well, I do. We'll talk about it. But this is the Undone Beauty Unfoundation Matte Tint. And I think the reason why I haven't been using this as much is because for some reason in the winter I start gravitating more towards higher coverage, or at least medium to high coverage foundations. And this is like the lowest coverage foundation I own. It's practically no coverage, that's why it's called the Unfoundation. And it's also very matte. For a while there I felt like it was a little too matte for my skin, but my skin's actually been, knock on wood, pretty normal recently. It hasn't been too dry and flaky. Of course, now that I said that, it's going to start flaring up again. But yeah, I want to use this, but in order to just add a little bit of luminosity to my skin, I am going to pull in my Becca Liquid Champagne Pop highlight, which is almost like a liquid illuminator. It's not like a super metallic highlighter. And I'm just going to apply this to kind of the high points of my face. This is in my project pan right now, so it's definitely not something that I forgot about because I've been using it quite a bit lately, but I'm just going to dab a little bit of this kind of like all over, just to hopefully give some life to my skin before I go in with that matte product. Because I am also wearing a matte sunscreen today. I'm wearing the Unfoundation, what am I saying? I'm wearing the Unsun Mineral Tinted Face Sunscreen. You can see that makes a really nice, just kind of healthy skin-like glow. It doesn't necessarily look like I just put highlighter on, which is what I like about it. What's happening with my collar over here? Is it, what am I, Batman? Okay, that's better. Yeah, I really haven't used this foundation in months. So I'm excited to kind of rediscover it today. But I'm just gonna start by applying some to the back of my hand. And I have the shade Porcelain Light in this, by the way. And I normally like to apply skin tints like this with my fingers because I feel like a sponge can kind of just take away too much of the already very light coverage. So I'm gonna dot it around. So it looks very light for my skin tone, but I think once it's blended in, it'll be fine. One thing I have noticed with this foundation is, because I did use this a few times when my skin was still adjusting to tretinoin and it was a little bit peely. This product does not work well if your skin is very dry, flaky, peeling in any way. It will kind of cling to those areas and just, it doesn't look great. I mean, it is a matte tint. They also make a glowy version, which I haven't tried, but I actually really like the matte tint as long as my skin is not in a very dry, flaky state. But that looks really nice. I really can't complain. It kind of just looks like skin. And I never would have thought to try this on my own. This is something that they sent to me, and I'm really glad they did, because I probably, if it were up to me, I probably would have chosen the glowy version. But to my surprise, I actually don't mind a matte finish from time to time. I used to only do a glowy finish. Now I really like both, just depending on what kind of look I'm going for. I feel like I could go either way now. So then for concealer, this is one that often also flies under my radar. This is the CoverGirl Clean Fresh Hydrating Concealer in the shade Fair Light. I love the Clean Fresh Skin Milk Foundation and I love the pressed powder, but for some reason I just don't think to use this very often. Lately I've just been really into like my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo, or I've had other ones in my makeup basket. So this is the one I feel like I haven't used in the longest. And this is another kind of lighter coverage product. And honestly, I tend to go more for high coverage things because I feel like if I'm going to the trouble of applying makeup, I want it to cover. But, and I also do have pretty dark under eyes, so I tend to go for my higher coverage concealers. But should I use a brush actually to blend this in? Oh, you know what I did the other day? The other day I tried my Real Techniques setting brush to blend in concealer, just because like I hadn't wet my sponge and I was like, let me just use a brush. and it actually worked really well, so I'm going to do that again. I think I've seen some people do this before. I'm not sure who, but I know I've seen people do this, and I've always wanted to try it, because normally I think of this brush as like a highlighter brush. So yeah, I mean, you can see the coverage on that really isn't bad. I just feel like I need to go over that with a sponge. I'm going to add a little bit more. I just feel like I prefer a sponge. Something about a brush, it always just looks a little bit more dry when I blend things out with a brush. By the way, I've really been liking these base blue snowflake sponges. Not a shape I would have thought that I would like, but actually work really well, and they're very soft and squishy, which is nice. So then for a powder that I kind of keep forgetting that I have, I got this. This was the Ulta birthday gift in 2021. So I got it in December, but I've only used it a couple times. This is the Bare Minerals Original Mineral Veil Loose Finishing Powder in the shade Translucent. And before I go in with that though, I just remembered I want to do highlighter. So here's a highlighter that I feel like I've forgotten about. I haven't used this in a really long time. This is from the brand All Good, and it is their Get Glowing Shimmer. They also, in this Get Glowing line, they have like some lip and cheek tints that I've shown as well. But this is kind of like one of those glossy highlighters. It does have a little bit of a shimmer to it, but it's really mostly kind of like a gloss for your cheeks, which is cool. I don't have any other products quite like that, so I enjoy having it. For some reason, I just keep forgetting to use it. So this is going to be my highlight today. I'm going to dab it on with a finger. And I'll put some like on the bridge of my nose as well. Maybe a little on the Cupid's bow. So there's that. Very natural looking. Doesn't really look like I'm wearing highlighter. Kind of just looks like my skin's natural glow. So I think that is the last cream product I'm going to use. So now I will go in with this Bare Minerals Mineral Veil to set both my under eyes and my face. Okay, this happened the last time I used this powder on my under eyes too. It definitely kind of like made that area oxidize, so I think this is going to have to be just a face setting powder, not an under eye powder. That just looks kind of weird. Let's see if it oxidizes my face a lot. Yeah, look at how orange that, I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's like an orange like splotch there now where I set the under eyes. Ugh, okay. So that confirms what I had experienced the first time with this. So I applied it right underneath the under eyes, which kind of, I feel like, covered up the highlighter, but it just looked too weird. So I'm probably gonna have to stick to just using this as a face setting powder rather than an under eye powder, which is a bummer because I like using loose powders on the under eyes. But now I feel like that kind of covered up the highlight. So maybe that highlighter is better for days when I'm not setting my face, which rarely happens, but maybe it would be good for kind of like a no makeup day. I feel like this is the kind of thing I would wear on vacation, like when I'm not really wearing much makeup, but like I'm gonna be outside a lot. This is the kind of highlighter that works well for those kind of days. So for bronzer and possibly more highlighter if I decide to apply more, I pulled out my BH Cosmetics Belgian Waffle palette. I have raved and raved about this face palette. It's such a good palette for bronzer and highlighters, but because it's a face palette, I keep it stored in with my other BH Cosmetics eyeshadow palettes in my eyeshadow drawer, and I feel like because of that I always forget that I own it, even though it's one of my favorite products. So I'm gonna have to maybe think of a new place to store this. I would like to just totally revamp my makeup storage. That probably won't happen for a while, but I don't know, I feel like I could switch some things around. I'm gonna do a mix of buttermilk and batter, these two. And I'm using my BH Cosmetics V2 brush. I love this brush for bronzer. It's just such a perfect shape. It's not too dense. It's got a nice taper to it. I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth between those two and bronze up the face. One thing I'll say is I'm really not used to seeing myself with this little coverage. Like I do have quite a bit of like acne scarring on my cheeks and a couple tiny little breakouts there. That's where I typically break out. And although my skin's been doing much better in recent months, but normally when I'm applying cheek products, bronzers, etc., this area is more covered up by, you know, foundation and concealer, so it's just kind of weird, but I feel like it's weird in a good way. Like I should get used to doing a full face of makeup, even like a full glam look with less coverage, because, you know, it's not that I'm like insecure about it or anything, but I'm just not used to seeing it, I guess because I'm just so used to covering it up and using higher coverage products. So the blush that I picked out is one that was a total favorite last year, like especially last summer. And in recent months, I've just been using different shades of blush, and so I kind of forgot about this one. It's the Milani Baked Blush in Luminoso, such a classic. I've just been wearing like my CoverGirl Natural Twinkle blush a lot when I'm reaching for a powder blush, because that's in my project pan. But this is such a beautiful blush color, and I miss it. And I think this will give my skin a nice little glow today. Okay, that's nice. This is almost like a blush and highlighter in one. Like, I definitely don't think you need to wear a separate highlighter when you wear this blush. Was that a little bit too much? Maybe. Okay, so I went off camera to do eyelid primer, used the Urban Decay Primer Potion, and also to fill in my brows, which I used the ABH Dip Brow Pomade in taupe for. And now let's get into eyeshadow. So I feel like I'm always talking about how I never remember to use my single shadows. I'm more of a palette kind of person, like a pre-made palette kind of person, but I have so many beautiful singles that go unused in my collection or underused in my collection. And I'm specifically kind of looking at this little quad right here, these pinks. These are all from Clarity. We have Pretty Little Liar, Bubblegum, and Playboy is this really pretty duochrome shade. And right now with like Valentine's Day approaching, I've been in a very pink mood. First I'm going to go into Pretty Little Liar and apply that to my crease. I feel like this actually is not going to go very well with that blush. Blush was very warm and peachy, and this is very much like a cool pink, so I may have to tone down the blush somehow. I guess I could add a little bit of this eyeshadow as a blush on top. I don't know, because that blush is looking very orangey right now. Definitely didn't think that through. Okay, so to tone down that blush a little bit, I'm going to take some of my CoverGirl Clean Fresh pressed powder, just because this is a very kind of blurring powder. I just want to tone down that coral blush. Just a little bit. Okay, that's better. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of this pressed pigment and apply a little bit of that to my cheeks, just to kind of cool it down a little bit. All right, I think that's better at least. All right, next I'm going to take a little bit of Bubblegum, which is this really, really bright hot pink shade, and I'm just going to take the tiniest bit of that and apply that to my outer corner. I feel like these matte pressed pigments from Clarity have gotten super crumbly. I may need to repress them. I think I'm going to have to dry repress them, because I think with pressed pigments like this, that's the best way to do it. They've just gotten so crumbly. I don't know what happened to get, maybe I was like too rough with them or something, but, and then blending that with fluffy crease brush. Take a little bit more of the light pink and add some more of that to the crease. All right, next I am going to be going in with that really shimmery shade, so I'm going to use this NYX glitter primer just to help that adhere to my eyelids. Okay, so then we're going to go into this stunning shade called Playboy from Clarity. This is one of their like duochrome shadows. Camera almost doesn't even know like how to show that color because it's so reflective. So this shimmer formula is very flaky. You have to really be careful not to pick up too much on your finger, and I'm even going to tap some of that off on this rag because I don't want it to get all over my cheeks. Just kind of stamping that onto where I applied the glitter primer. Oh, look how pretty that is. Oh my gosh, I forgot how glittery that is. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing is I am just tapping my finger in. I'm not even like rubbing my finger in there, just tapping it in and slowly building it up so that I don't get fallout. But like the final result is so worth it. How stunning is that? Yeah, and I was actually able to avoid fallout with that shade. Awesome. Okay, so this is an eyeliner that I forgot I had. I'm not sure how well this is gonna go with this look, but this is the CoverGirl Perfect Point Plus eyeliner in charcoal. So it's like a nice kind of charcoal gray liner. Normally I either do brown or black, but I often forget to do a gray. So this is what I'm gonna do today. I'm just gonna smudge it across my lower lash line. Just a nice thin line. I love these Perfect Point Plus liners. I love how fine the tip is. Just so easy to get a very precise line. And I'm gonna smudge this on the lower lash line as well. It actually has a little like sponge tip smudger on the other end that I'm gonna use to just sort of smudge that out a little. I don't know why I never think to use this side. And then for the top, I am gonna wing that out with my BK Beauty 208 angled brush. I'm just gonna pick up a little bit more on that brush and then wing it out that way. Yeah, I like the gray. Normally I would do a black with this look, but the gray is just a little bit softer. I feel like this is starting to not go super well with my shirt, but that's okay. I may have to change shirts after this. I do want to go in with some brow gel. I'm just using the Pacifica Highest Def Hemp Fiber Brow Set. This is the only brow gel I currently own. I would say this is a nice light hold brow gel. I don't know why they call it a fiber brow gel because there are no fibers in this, at least not that I can see. But it's just a basic clear brow gel. Definitely doesn't have strong hold. It's not going to leave your brows feeling like crunchy or anything, so if that's what you like, you might like this, but I kind of would prefer something with a little more hold to it. So next, I'm just going to apply some mascara. I'm testing out the new Milk Makeup Rise mascara. The packaging of this is so interesting. It's like kind of squishy, really weird, but I like the way that it looks. I like the way that the words look in there. This is only like my third time using this, but I like it. It's very lengthening. My problem with it is it seems to flake, which is not an issue I normally have with mascaras, so. I got some on my cheek, so I'm gonna let that dry and then kind of flake it off with a spoolie. I'm just going to apply that to the top lashes and I'm going to leave the lower lashes bare today. So for the lips, I think I'm going to go with just like a subtle pinky nude. And this gloss, I definitely forgot about. I feel like I'm always forgetting about this just because I'm currently panning my Milani gloss in Soft Rose, and this is kind of a similar nude pink. It's a little bit of a warmer pink than the Milani gloss, but for whatever reason, I just keep forgetting to use it, so we're gonna use it today. It's rare that I just apply a gloss and like no lip liner, but I'm gonna do that today because honestly I feel like I have been rotating through all my lip liners recently, so I haven't really like forgotten about any of those. So let's just do this. Did I say the shade name? It's Tea Rose. Okay, that's really pretty, and I also feel like because this color is kind of right in the middle between warm and cool, it's just very neutral. It kind of tied together the cheeks and eyes. Since the cheeks ended up a little warmer than the eyes and the eyes ended up like a very cool pink, I feel like that kind of ties it all together. I feel like I can never apply mascara without getting some of it somewhere on my face or around my eyes. Alright, that totally just removed like all the makeup that was underneath it. Don't look too close right there because I had a very hard time fixing that, but I think I evened it out as much as possible. Okay, so that is my finished look of products I forgot I had. Wow, now I'm really kicking myself for not using these products more often, especially these eyeshadows. Oh my goodness. Particularly that shimmer shadow. That has to be one of the most beautiful shimmers in my entire collection. How am I not using that like every single day? That is so pretty. Honestly, I love the way the whole look came together. I think I'm definitely going to get more use out of this Undone matte tint as we head into the summer. That's when I start to get more into light coverage looks. But even though I normally prefer medium coverage foundations, even though this look turned out like very glitzy and glam, I don't feel like I miss the higher coverage of the foundation. And it's kind of nice to let my skin breathe a little bit from time to time. So That was a nice little rediscovery. Yeah, I had a lot of fun creating this look. Thank you so much to Sandra for the request. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you've not already. And hopefully I will talk to you all very soon in my next video. Bye.